Welcome to the Mother-Daughter-ish podcast. It's your mama's favorite podcast.
And the podcast your daughter always wanted.
This is Miss Dawn.
And Angelique.
From the 713. Houston, y'all. Get connected and stay connected weekly as new shows debut on Sunday, Wednesday, and please check out our Saturday Out and About showcases.
Enjoy the show. Please subscribe, like, share, comment, and tell every woman on the planet that you know about our show.
Here's our show for today.
Hey, mothers and daughters. Well, guess what? I made a mistake. And turned my TV on to YouTube. And today's show, I just want to talk about business versus professional. Personal and professional. And the reason I want to talk about this is because, as you probably well know, there is a very salacious court case that's going on in Atlanta, Georgia. I don't know if it's in Atlanta or if it's in New York, but I know that it's Atlanta judges, lawyers, and all of that are involved. And when I tell you I'm so disgusted with the actions of the key players, it really triggered something in me, and not in a negative way, but just in a, okay, Dawn, you got to say something about it because, you know, you've been checking this out. And if you don't know by now, I watch TV to learn. I don't watch TV just to sit and zombie out and just go into an abyss of just, oh, the TV is on. Let me just let it sit there and play. This is why I am not a great candidate and never have been for reality TV, because one, it's not really reality, and two, I don't like the formula. So the formula is episode 1, you get to meet all the key players. Episode 2, you get to see who is going to be the one you actually really like because you start to listen to them and look at how they act. Episode 3, you're going to find out who don't like who. Episode 4, you're going to hear some whispers and mess, and there's going to be some backstabbing, and you're going to find out who the key players are that are the backstabbers. By episode 5, 6, and 7, there's a fight. By that time, it's time for the show to go off. That formula doesn't work for me because I'm a grown person, and I behave in that manner. I want to first say that I am not just disgusted with this case, but it just triggered something from last year when the Johnny Depp and Amber Heard case was going on, and all of the wonderful little nuggets of things that I learned. You know, one thing that I'm really tapping into is my instinct to identify liars and sneaky snakes. I mean, it's almost like I'm writing the script myself. But let's get into it. So let's talk about personal and professional. And I think the reasons why we have to, talk about these things is because people, they literally have to go to work. And so the way I'm going to do the show today is I'm going to give some reference from what I'm talking about as far as the court case that's going on right now. I'm going to talk a little bit about a client, something that happened to me over the weekend that just kind of ties great into this. And then the final part is I'm going to give you a couple of story times of real reality things that has happened in my life for me to be able to strengthen my awareness of this shenanigans that go on when it comes to personal and professional interactions and relationships. And then finally, I'm going to give you some tips to keep you out of that harm's way. See, I cannot do a show without giving you some tips, some ideas, some ways to better yourself and to be able to recognize the shenanigans. So, when it comes to personal and professional, you should absolutely always separate the two. No matter how challenging it may be, it can absolutely be done. I can tell you right now, I went to a very famous, and when I say famous, I mean in my neck of the woods, mega church, and I never, ever dated one person at that church. At the time, we had over 15,000 members, and I'm pretty sure there were some eligible folks there, but I never dated, because the first thing I saw when I walked into that church is I saw that everybody was dating everybody. It's kind of like a song I heard on the radio today when I went to go get a new blow dryer for my hair, and the song said, "Welcome to Houston, where everybody So everybody do everybody. And I was like, my brain was like, not everybody. And I'm born and raised in Houston. But when I went to that church, the first thing I told myself is, no, we're not talking to anybody in this church. And I had my reasons. And one of the things that had always turned me off was that everybody was messing around with everybody. And when I say that, I mean that in a very generalized way. I don't mean it literally, because if I was there, obviously I wasn't messing around with everybody, so I don't fit into the everybody's narrative. So you get my point. It's just a scenario that I'm giving you. So when I went to that church, I said, I'm not messing around with nobody here, because that seems to be the norm here, and I'm not interested in the norm. Okay? I had to separate the two. This is where I'm coming to get my spiritual feeding. I'm not here to feed on the men. Okay? So separating that was really a great idea. You know what? When I look at a lot of celebrities who date inside the industry, I don't like it. I understand it, but to understand something doesn't mean you have to like it. I understand it because they figure, well, we've all been through the same shenanigans. We've all had to jump through the same hoops. We all hang around the same people. Some of us all date some of the same people. Some of us date within the same circle. So let's just keep it within this little circle. But I actually quite like it when a celebrity dates a non-celebrity. And someone who's not trying to become a celebrity, but someone who will allow them to shine in what they do. So that's kind of the mix of what I really like. Now, don't get me wrong. I love that Courtney B. Vance and Angela Bassett make a beautiful couple. I love also that Viola Davis and her husband, he's not an actor. I also like the fact that they are a couple that is, one is the actress and successful, nominated person, and then the husband that just kind of supports the woman. I like that dynamic. I'm just saying what I prefer to see, what makes me happy. And hey, these are all my opinions. It's my pod show, so I get the beautiful opportunity to tell you what's on my mind. Now, as you know, last week the case started, of course, with the Trump case and the district attorney of Atlanta and all of the nonsense and shenanigans going on. I'm going to tell you, I was never going to watch it, because let me tell you why. When I turned on the TV last week, I got a glimpse of her without clicking to agree to watch it. I got a glimpse of her and I could see through her beady little eyes. This is no dig. I'm telling you what I saw. And I said, she's nervous. She's jittery. She's going to lie. And then my spirit within me said, click it and see. And I obeyed. And I clicked it. And as you all know, the popular saying last year, I effed around and found out. When I saw the testimony, she was wearing a pink dress. She looked disheveled. She was jittery. She was all but trembling. And I could see it all through the screen. She had an attitude. She had a sister girl demeanor. She was lying. This is my opinion. And if I need to say allegedly, we can say that too. But I'm telling you what my spirit told me about her is that she was a liar and that she's going to do whatever it takes to cover it up. Now listen, this particular lady and the man that, and I don't even want to say their names, this particular lady and the man that she's having the affair with, who was actually the assistant district attorney that's trying to nail Trump to the cross. And this ain't nothing about Trump. This is me talking about personal and professional relationships. You know, there used to be a saying that you don't, you know what, where you work. You know, you don't mess up nothing that feeds you. And if you have a job and it pays your bills and it buys your groceries, the job feeds you. So I'm looking at this case, and then I didn't know that it was going to pan out the way it was, that then they were going to have her on there, they were going to have the dude on there, they were going to have the father on there, and they were going to have his business partner on there. And then today, I find out because I'm proving a point to myself that as my instincts get stronger and stronger and my spirit within me identifies immediately, this helps strengthen me. I know y'all might not get what I'm saying, but I'm telling you how my spirit within me works. So today I find out that the gentleman she was having the affair with, the assistant DA, is his former lawyer, business partner, and obviously friend, is the one who snitched on him. But then when you look at the whole circle of what's going on, it's really disgusting. I'm disappointed. I'm very disappointed. I'm disappointed that I had to prove this to myself, but I knew what I was talking about to myself. Listen, I'm talking to myself right now. You just get to listen in. But I'm very disgusted by it. I think that they've made a mockery of themselves. What it also did to me, I said, does every lawyer lie like this? And then it made me think about lawyers that have gotten people off of cases that they know they've committed the murders. It made me think about Scott Peterson and how he's trying to get off on his case of what he did to kill his wife. It made me think about just every time somebody has lied in my face, not knowing that my spirit within me tells me instantly, Dawn, that's a lie. That's a lie right there. What that person just said to you, that's a lie. Don't say nothing. Don't say nothing. Let's see how I do this even with my own adult children. I let them keep talking until they dig a hole too deep for themselves. And then I get quiet and that's the end of the story. I don't even need to respond. It's just some people dig enough hole to bury themselves. So when it comes to personal and professional, they absolutely cross the line. And I get it. Sometimes you're around people at work, and I hate this term that I hear people talk about, work husbands and wives. But sometimes you're around people at work longer than you're around your children, longer than you're around your family, your friends, your husbands, your wives. So don't think I'm insensitive and I don't get it. Remember, I once too worked in a corporate setting. I once too dealt with office politics. I once too dealt with men coming by my desk every day saying, hey, can I take you to lunch? Hey, can I buy you lunch? Hey, can I give you my number? Hey, can I get your number? Hey, can I talk to you after work? Hey, can I do this? Hey, shot them down every time. So don't think. But I was thinking about this last week. And I said, I am so proud of whatever this thing is in me, that in the 20 plus years that I've been an entrepreneur, I've never, ever had to warn any man. I never get approached by women like that, so I never mention them because it doesn't happen to me. But I have never had to beat off a man. Okay, I said that wrong. I've never had to warn a man and beat him off with a stick to stay away from me. I've never had to approach someone and say, hey, you did this, because I remember when I was 20-something years old and I worked in a corporate setting, and I went to go to use the phone because, on your break, they let you use the back then, we talking landlines. There was not, I don't even think I had a cell phone at this time. We're talking the 90s. And at work, I went in to use the little, they had like a little conference room where if you were on your break, you could go in there, you could take a nap, or you could use the phone, or you could sit there and work on stuff. You could read a book. It was just a little small room that had just like a long desk. It might have been, it was probably the size of a very small half bathroom or something like that. And it had like a desk and a computer and a landline. And I remember I went into that room. I'm probably 23, maybe. 23, probably, yeah. I go into that room, and a guy that had just been hounding me, just telling me he liked me. He was married. And I said to him before, if you say anything else to me, the next time your wife comes up here, I'm going to let her know. Again, back then we were having cell phones, so I couldn't record it or video it or have any proof. So I warned him to see, well, how much do you want to lose what you have at home? I wasn't interested in him. So I remember I walked into that room to go use the phone because I needed to return a phone call. I don't know if it was to make an appointment for a doctor, dentist, whatever. And he came into the room and tried to kiss me, and I slapped the dog you know what out of him. And I said, don't you ever try that. And I stood up to that man like, and then at the time, the lady that was the boss over me, she walked in and she said, is everything okay? Are you all right? Because, I slapped him so hard that you could hear it on the wall almost. It's like the slap bounced off to the wall, to the door, from the window to the wall. It was like serious. I can laugh about it because I think at that moment, at 23 years old, I set a precedence for myself to say, you don't get to touch me without my permission. You understand? And I've been like that since day one. Nobody gets to touch me without my permission. But it wasn't just that I didn't like him. It wasn't just that I had those rules for my own life. But it was more about, dude, we work at the same job together. I see your wife come up here and bring you lunch or come and see you sometimes. Like, this is a work environment. I'm not going to mix business with, personal stuff for you. Like, I'm not... Back then, you didn't have to go to HR and you didn't have to reveal that you were in a relationship with anyone. And so that wasn't the problem. But as I'm looking at this case that's going on right now, that's in national headlines, they didn't reveal their case either, which would have saved them. So revealing it to HR would save you down the road because HR can say, no, we were very aware, in 2019 that they were actually a couple. We didn't, put a bulletin board or put anything up to let everybody else know, but they were professional enough to tell us about their personal relationship. Okay. Speaking of personal and professional relationships, I had a phone call this weekend from a lady that wants me to help her with a particular thing. I can't even say what it is because it's so proprietary, but I'm not going to say her name or anything. I'm talking about scenarios, personal and professional. So she called me last week to give me the gist of what she might need. I said, well, you're going to have to set up a more personalized, consultation so I can really understand what you need, because calling and talking to me for 15 minutes, I have no idea what you need. Okay. So she calls me back on, I think it was Saturday morning, and she says, here's what I think I'm going to need. I'm not ready right now, blah, 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 blah. And she say, but I need to know, are you a Trump supporter? And I'm going to tell you exactly what I told her. And I stand on this like they say you stand on business. I stood 10 toes down on business. I said to her, well, ma'am, I don't know how what I do in my personal life would have anything to do with what you're asking me to assist you with on a professional level. By the way, I don't know the gist of what you even want me to support you or help you with on the business end of it. And again, once we start working together, it's a complete pure relationship for work. I will never know anything personal about you because I'm not going to ask or allow you to tell me. So I don't really know. And she's like, oh, I'm so happy. While I'm talking, she's saying, oh, I'm so glad you said that. Oh my gosh, you are my girl. You are the one, blah, 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 blah. And I let her get that in. And I said, so, me answering that question won't solve any professional issues that you're asking me to help you with. Because what I do in my personal life has nothing to do with you. Who I'm with has nothing to do with you. Who else I do work with has nothing to do with you. None of that has anything to do with you. Because if I'm correct, ma'am, you're calling me about something professional, right? She said, yes, ma'am, you are so right. You are so right. I said, it's kind of like this scenario. What if I was in the LGBTQIA community and you asked me, well, are you in that community? Because if so, I can't work. Like, ma'am, you're doing too much. What she didn't understand clearly, which is what I broke down to her, you need to separate business from personal lifestyle. And I'm telling y'all right now that are listening, if you don't do this in every area of your life, You will regret it. You can ask all four of my children. I always, when they were little, spent separate time with them. When one would have a sweet 16 birthday, it would just be me and that birthday child. And if they wanted to bring a friend along, they couldn't bring their siblings. If they wanted to bring a friend along, they could bring a friend on a trip. For example, when Angelique had her sweet 16, we went to the Big Apple. We went to New York City. And we hung out in Times Square. We had a great time. We ate good food. We just really hung out and shopped. And we had a good time. She brought, I think, maybe three or four friends with her. A couple of friends from school, her stepsister, people that she wanted in her circle, okay? And I took care of it. I paid for everything because it's her sweet 16, and that's what she wanted to do, okay? When Peyton, my other daughter, when she turned 16, we went to Puerto Rico. Yep, her birthday's in February. Pulled her out of school, got her homework, said she'll bring it back. We're gone for a week to Puerto Rico, celebrate her sweet 16. It literally was just me, and it was just her. When my son Josh turned 17, because, boys don't care about sweet 16, but when he turned 17, he said, I want to go to New York City. So I took him to New York City because his sister had gone to New York, and he always wanted to go to New York. As a matter of fact, he wanted to go to Pratt University in New York. That's how much he wanted to be in New York so bad. When my other son, Savon, when he turned 16, we went to Cancun, Mexico, and we hung out and had an amazing time. We ATV, zip line. We did all kind of water stuff, rode horses. We had an amazing time. Just me and just him. So you see how I separate even personal from personal, because that's the way my brain works. And I suggest that if you want to have a better personal and professional life, I'm going to suggest that you do that as well. Now, before I give you these tips on how you can stay out of trouble, I'm going to share a couple of story times with you, and I'm going to make them very quick, but I want you to get my point of what I'm saying as to why it's so important when I give you these tips to do these things I'm going to say that you really should be doing. So one of the story times that I will tell you is I'm going to tell you about a person that I did some work with maybe 2015 or 16. I can't even tell you the project that we did together, but just know that we did a project together. That's a digital project right now that will live on and on and on. Both of our names are on it. It was really great. We had a whole rollout and everything. And this person, of course, got a little bit fresh. And when I say fresh, it was very subtle. It wasn't just slap in your face. It was little innuendo things that I ignored, because I was just like, well, he's married, so he couldn't mean that. He's married. Come on, he's got a beautiful wife, and they've been together for a while, and he's gone through some things in his life that he would never. And then it got to this point where he said, well, hey, I have this NDA that I want to send over to you, and I want you to read it and sign it and send it back to me. And I said, an NDA for what? Like, we're just doing XYZ. Why would I? Well, I was so dumb. Like, why would I need an NDA? He said, well, just in case, like, down the road, if something happens. And I said, well, don't worry about that, because nothing's going to happen. I'm not attracted to you. You're a married man. We're here to do business together. I'm not attracted to you at all. And I wasn't attracted to him for so many reasons that I can't even list them right here, other than the most important ones that I just listed. And he said, well, why don't you draw something up and send it over to me? And I was like, yeah, okay. And my spirit was like, girl, that's a setup. If you send it to him, then he does something and takes advantage of you. Then don't you know that he has now a paper trail? Don't you know now he has a paper trail, and he can say, well, obviously you thought something was going to happen because you sent this over to me. It's the little things that can get you caught up. And 10 years down the road, you get caught up. My mind is always thinking about the cause and effect. If I do this, then that. There's a favorite show that I have that I watch, and it's called Billions. And on Billions, I like some of the things, but some of them I just get so upset about. For example, there's a husband and wife, the Rhodes, they're married, and they're into all kinds of little, interesting things. But as soon as she and her husband got divorced, then she and her boss decided, well, they liked each other all along. But I just love that when they almost made something happen, I just love that the boss said, we ain't gonna start nothing, we ain't gonna finish. In other words, you're gonna either have your whole foot in, or you're gonna keep your pinky toe and all your other feet out. We not gonna play around. Like, I'm attracted to you, you're attracted to me, you're my rock, I'm here for you. You gonna come with me, or you gonna stay back here? Well, of course, Wendy has children. She can't just up and go to Switzerland or wherever he went because the cops was on his trail. So she just was like, well, and you could tell in her eyes, she was like, well, we could just have like a one night stand, but that didn't work. There's another show that I like called Resident Alien. And on Resident Alien, there's the mayor and his wife. And the mayor was trying to think of all these ways to compete with the other smaller cities around. Because it's supposed to be filmed in Patience, Colorado. And so there's a couple of other small towns that are trying to win them out by getting like resorts and all this to get the tourist attraction money and, to get the grants to be able to build these resorts and all this stuff. And the husband, which is the mayor, he was all for it because he just want to be a good mayor. He wants to be remembered. He wants to make his mark. He wants people to like him. He's a people pleaser, blah, blah, blah. A lot of trauma went on with him and things that are happening that I won't spoil why he's been acting the way he's been acting. But his wife was like influenced by her friends. Like, we grew up here. We can go to the woods and we can see our names written on trees. We have a unique setting here. If we bring all these tourists in, it's going to get so crowded. We're not going to be able to eat at our favorite diner, which one of the girls' father owned. We're not going to be able to do this. We won't have the small city charm that we normally have. So the mayor and the wife butted heads on it. But you know what I like? When they realized that it was affecting their marriage, they made a truce and said, we will not talk about, because she was going to take him to court behind this, her own husband. They made a truce to say, we are not going to talk about this under our roof of our home. We will not talk about this. We will not discuss this in a private setting and personal relationship. Now, when we get to court, I'm going to dog you out. But we not going to talk about that right here. Okay? One more story time that I want to tell you about is absolutely everything, going back to the case that kicked this all off, which is that case that's happening regarding the district attorney from Atlanta. I once worked with an individual who every time we got contracts, she was trying to figure out how to put her man in it. Oh, well, he can do this, or, oh, he can do that, or we can just let him do that. We could just give him a little something. Every time we would get a big contract, she would always be trying to figure out how to put her man in it. And I always was like, I liked him because he was cool, but it's like, he's a grown man. He can figure out his own way to go. But I think, let me tell you what happens. It's the pillow talk. Me and my mom was just talking about this today, and we were talking about how out of hand this pillow talk. We were talking about how out of hand this pillow talk has gotten. And I gave her a very great scenario. I said, I was with somebody for 20 years, and he can't tell you what the name of my company is. He can't tell you what I did for business. He can't tell you where I went on trips for personal and professional development. He can't tell you what seminars I used to go to. He could not sit down and tell you. He couldn't tell you who I traveled with. He cannot go back and tell you what in the year of whatever, this is where she went. Nothing, because I don't do pillow talk. You see what I mean when I say separating personal from even personal? Like, I'm in a personal relationship with you, but that doesn't give you carte blanche to know everything about me. No. I was married once, and I never allowed my then husband to ever see any personal female care items in the home. You probably say, well, how you do that? I kept everything in the other bathroom. This is why I believe that married couples should have separate bathrooms, but never separate bedrooms. I don't care who snore, you're going to put up with it. I don't think they should have separate bedrooms, but I do think that they should have separate bathrooms. Simply because we have we have too many hair products, we have too many perfume, or body butters and all that stuff. I know I can't. I have a shelf in my bathroom with so many body butters that I literally have to lotion up when I'm just sitting in the house because I like the way all of it smells. But I'm not even trying to be funny. I have 3 shelves in my bedroom with nothing but candles, herbs, herbal teas. I'm looking at them right now as I'm talking to you. So sometimes you even have to separate personal from personal, because the one thing my spirit never let me forget after having children is that I am still an individual. Okay? I still own the right to do individual things, which is why the running theme in my house to my kids is that I have a life that does not include you. So you don't get to ask me certain questions. You don't get to know every move that I make. You just need to know when I leave home, I'm coming back. I'm coming back with things for you. I'm coming back with stories for you. I'm coming back with whatever our normal life is. I'm coming back with it. And I always gave them that security of knowing that no matter where I went, I was coming back. And I would bring pictures, and they would know, in video, and say, hey, guess what? When I went to Ireland, I got to stay in a castle. 2 of them was interested to hear it, and the other 2 was like, we don't give up. Did you bring me something back? We don't give up. When is our next vacation as a family? We don't give up. 2 didn't care, 2 did. I'm not even going to say which ones because I ain't going to call them out. The next story time, and the last one, it's crazy to me how business owners that own companies together that are married don't know how to separate the business from the home life. And this is why I felt like this show was so important today, to talk about how to separate your personal and your professional. Just like I have a group of ladies that we travel together, and we do a lot of personal and professional development together. And we don't just do it together, but we do it separately. In other words, we're all on our own separate trajectories. Oh, I like the way I said that word. Anyway, we're all on our separate trajectories, so we don't try to say, well, you should be more like me, or you should do more like me, or you should... No. Everybody is an individual. Again, my running theme in my home when I was raising my children was that I have a life that does not include you. And all that meant was that you don't earn the right to ask me personal questions. You don't earn the right to speak to me a certain kind of way. You don't earn the right to openly defy me. You've not earned the right to do that. So I don't know what the little kids at the school doing to their parents. It won't happen here. Let's get into some of these tips, because I'm trying to help y'all from getting caught up. I mean, nobody taught me this. This has been from pure observance. And when I say pure observance, I'm talking about listening to what my spirit in me tells me is right from wrong, tells me danger and not danger, tells me I should be in a room and shouldn't be in a room, tells me I need to watch out for that person extra. I can tell you one time I went to an event, and this is how people try to line you up. I used to do a lot of networking. I'm talking about every day if I could. But I went to a political event that was in somebody's house. The gentleman who was there was a lawyer, and he had, I can't even say the name, but let's just say he was a governor of a particular town at that time, a very large city at that time. And the person that invited me was a contractor that I knew that was going to be doing some work with me. He invited me. And I think because I had a nonprofit organization I was working with, that they wanted to have a mixture of people in the room. And I got a great opportunity to speak face to face with this particular politician and to just have a great conversation. And I felt very comfortable in the room. There were other women, of course. If I'd have walked in and I would have went home. I'm real good at not putting myself in situations where something could or would happen. You know what I learned from the late, great Zig Ziglar? He used to talk about a lot that he did not meet with women in public without having an assistant with him, a security with him, somebody in his family with him, the redhead, which what he called his wife. He would have somebody, because he said in the position that he was in, there's no way that he should be getting caught up with being with any woman in public that's not his family or his wife. Meaning if it's not his daughter, his niece, his cousin, his aunties, or his wife, the redhead. And I'm going to tell you something. I take that very serious because I get calls all the time. Not all the time, but you know, it sounds good for me to say all the time because I'm sitting over here without no phone calls today. But anyway, I get calls and invitations and text messages and even emails from people asking me to go to lunch, I have a standing something that I broke years ago where an ex would say, hey, let's have lunch once a year. And I would go have lunch and sit and talk about old times. And I got bored with that and was like, I'm not doing this because you're married, one. Two, you still trying to be fresh. And I just started saying, this person does not know how to be friends. Platonic friends at that. So I just stopped even obliging, okay? I like the way I said that too. Oof. I just stopped obliging. So when this person called me this year back in June or July, might have been June, and said, hey, yeah, we need to get together and do lunch. We ain't did lunch in years and years. We need to get together and do that. And I was like, well, no, I don't think that's a good idea. He said, well, me and my wife, we're separated. We're not even married anymore. And I said, oh, okay, when did y'all get divorced? He said, no, we not divorced, we separated. I say, well, you know, you're not divorced, so you technically are still married, and I am a single woman, and so I should not be out in public with anybody's husband. And he was like, oh, and he's, said a couple of little cuss words or whatever, as if to say, forget that. I've been knowing you. I knew you before I knew her. And I'm like, yeah, you knew me before you knew all the wives that you've had in between us dating. He was like, well, technically we never broke up. And I was just like, so technically we never broke up, but you've already had 2 wives and 3 outside children. Like, what are you talking about? What are we really talking about right here? Because I was so annoyed that I was like, well, it was nice hearing from you. Deleted the number out of my phone so fast. I was like, why did I even still have that number in my phone? I'm separating our personal relationship from our new personal relationship, which is going to be, I am going to do what my Aunt Elnora used to say. I'm going to handle him with a long handle spoon. If you don't know what that means, just Google it. Just Google, what does it mean when the phrase handle someone with a long handle spoon? Look, I don't have time to try to educate you on all the little quirky things that I could say just from the people that I've been around. But my point is, let me give you some tips so that you don't get caught up, because I've been in so many situations that at the age of 51, almost 52 now, I sit back and I go, oh, thank goodness I never did that. Oh, thank goodness I never participated. Oh, thank goodness I never allowed. Oh, thank goodness I never agreed. Oh, thank goodness I never put that in writing. Oh, thank goodness I wasn't texting. Oh, thank you to the heavens that there's no video footage from the 80s and 90s of me anyway. I was teasing my kids the other day, and I sent all of them a text message and said, hey, I heard that there's a documentary coming out called something about Freaknik on Hulu. Just know that if you see a lady that looks like me, that's not me. Oh my goodness, they thought that was the funniest thing. Now, one of my little cynical children was like, yeah, you probably are in that video. And I'm saying to myself, what does this person think to even assume that I would go to something like that? Now, don't get me wrong. I done lived. I've been some places. I've been to your Bio Classics. I've been to the crawfish festivals. I've been to when they used to do Mardi Gras up in Galveston. I've been when the Kappas and the Q Dogs and all that used to do the steps. I've done it all, okay? And the funny thing is even though I've done it all, there's so much I didn't do. And I'm so thankful. I mean, like, I'm so thankful. Now, could I run for president? Probably. And probably not at the same time. Probably because there's nothing to see here. Probably not because I wouldn't want anybody in my business like that. Because I am a individual who just handles people with a long handle spoon. It doesn't matter who you are. I don't share certain things with people because what I have seen and what my experience is that they will talk about it later and hold it over your head. Look at back to the case that's in the headlines today with the district attorney and the assistant district attorney of Atlanta. The lady that's on the witness stand, her friend girl from college came and spoke on her and said, well, she said this and she said they were doing this and yeah, they went on trips and yeah, he came to the house because we lived together and we're roommates. Baby, let me tell you something. I could have had 15 of those men and we lived together. You would have never seen not a nail. Yes, I said the word not a nail. That means, for those who don't understand, not one of them you would have seen. Okay? Separate it. Also, the business partner of the gentleman that she's been accused of having the affair, which has been validated, he snitched on him, and he was his divorce lawyer. So even he snitched on him. So my point is, and this is going to be your first tip, stop giving people information they can use against you later. I know you're giving it to them in friendship. I know that you're giving it to them because you admire them. I know that you're giving it to them just in general conversation. I know that you're giving it to them because you want to share. I know sometimes you even give people information about you because you want a trauma bond. Sometimes you give people information about you to see if it matches up with their lifestyle. Stop giving people information that they can use against you. Nip that in the bud today. I promise you, and I stand 10 toes on this, I promise you they're going to use it against you later. If they don't use it against you in public, they'll use it against you in private, and it'll still get back around to you. When I tell you I could give you about 1,000 story times on that, not necessarily things that happened to me, because since I was a kid, let me tell you something. When I was in middle school, a lot of things were going on that I saw that other people were doing. I made a mental note. That ain't what I'm doing. I could have. Opportunity and time was there. When you at school, your parents don't know what you're doing. You could be kissing all up in the hallway and everything. Now, I ain't get in trouble to that till I was like in 9th grade. But anyway, my mom had to come to the school off of that. But I'm just saying, in middle school, they was already kissing in the hallway and doing a whole lot more than that, okay? Now, for all of those individuals that we now know from middle school that are now saints who used to be sinners, unfortunately, they're still being judged. I saw a girl on Facebook yesterday, and I see her quite often. And I can't tell you the things that she was doing in 9th grade because you'd have to go over to some of the explicit sites to even understand the riddles I would have to make on what this girl used to do. Oh, but now she's found the Lord. She's raising her son. She's still single. And I'm going to tell you something. I don't want to judge this girl. But I know the truth of what she did all the time. I know the key players she did it with. I know the rumors that got around about, the different diseases and everybody knew. All the boys knew she was the easy one. And now I look back and I said to myself when I saw her her photo in her story yesterday on Facebook, and I asked myself, was it worth it? Was it worth it to create such a reputation? Was it worth it? Was it worth it? So my next tip to you would be, think about what you're doing now that can affect you later. Like when I was in elementary, middle school, there were just some things I just didn't do, or people I didn't hang around. Like if I found out that like you were the messy person, you're the messy girl, you're the one that does things that I wouldn't approve of as a human, I made a exact point not to fool with you. So if you were in the cliques, I didn't fool with you. If you was having fights, I didn't fool with you. If you was cussing and loud and every boy knew your name, I didn't fool with you. I didn't want the birds of a feather flock together signal to come my way. That was the end of that story. But think about what you're doing now that's going to hurt you later. I feel so bad for some of the tweens and teens who are posting things on social media sites, because what they haven't understood is that even if they put it up there and take it down, whoever grabbed it before you took it down and shared it with everybody else, it's now probably been shared thousands of times. You'll never scrub it from the internet because it's laying on somebody's hard drive, somebody's computer RAM. It's just kind of out there. Another thing that you can do to keep everything separate, let's just talk about finances and business, because with this big case, there's a lot of nefarious finance things going on, and everything that they pretty much tried to explain is a lie. I can tell. I don't know about y'all, but I can tell when people are lying. Everything is in their body language. It's in what they say. It's in how they say. It's in how they try to cover it up, which you can't cover some things up. Some things you can, but some things you just cannot cover up. Because if you tell lie A, B, and C, you have to have a plan all the way through Z, and you got to follow it to the end. And I don't know about y'all, but I don't remember lies. So like if I said, oh yeah, I made $100 yesterday. I brought in $100. And then in 2 years, I'm like, well, yeah, remember that time when I made that $75? Like, girl, you said it was $100. Like, get it together. When it comes to personal and professional finances, I would definitely say, even in business, if you have multiple contracts or you have multiple opportunities where different monies are coming in and you have to track them in a certain way, there's two ways you can do this. You can get separate bank accounts, because usually when you get a contract, you have to upload your banking and routing number and all of that, and you can keep that specifically just for that contract. That way you have a very good tracking system there. Or you can go to your banker and ask for private banking, depending on how big those contracts are. You can ask for private banking, and you can set up what they call a chart of accounts. And when you set up a chart of accounts, let's just say you have 6 contracts. Each one of those 6 contracts will have a separate income, because they will flag it. So if your contract is with the federal government, XYZ over here, then ABC money is going to go over there. XYZ money is going to come here. And then EFG money is going to go over there. They'll know how to track that and see when those funds come in, which account, which chart of accounts it's supposed to go into. Because when you have a chart of accounts, you label each one of them. So if you have a contract with, let's just say, the county, then the name of that county would be there. If you have a contract with the Department of Education, then it would be there. You have a contract with the USDA, that would be there. If you have a contract with Shell Oil Company, that'll be there. So when Shell Oil Company deposits money into your account, it's never going to go over here to the Department of Education. It's going to go into the one that's labeled. Remember, AI crawlers will figure out where to put that money, and plus you'll be tracking your account, so you can do that. If you've listened to this podcast in the last 5 months, you'll know that I shared with you that I had a client that I had to go out to Katie and help during COVID. She was about to lose everything. And I said, well, one of the rules that I use in life is that show me your bank account and I'll show you what you do. And I'll show you where your holes are as far as where the money's leaking. And she said, okay, how many months you need? I said, give me 4. She gave me 4, and immediately I saw where she was losing $8,000 a month illegally. She was paying her personal car. She was paying her hair to be done. She was paying her personal home bill. She was paying her mortgage out of the business account. What was supposed to happen is that she was supposed to set herself with a salary. She was supposed to pay herself. And then just like you and everybody else, when you get your check, you pay your bills from there. If you continue to rob from the business, then you're going to always be short in the business. And at that time, she was also paying her staff on Zelle and Cash App. Now, you know when you pay on Cash App, it takes money out. So she was overpaying them to cover the money that was taken out so that they could get their salaries that they were supposed to be receiving. That was set up improperly. And she was not paying her business taxes because she didn't have it set up properly through QuickBooks or any of those other modalities. Because, again, she was using Zelle and Cash App to pay people. I don't know why they ever agreed to that, but I think she convinced them to do that. She didn't separate her personal and her professional. She had this mindset, I own this business. I can do whatever I want with every penny that comes in the door. You can't do that, because what she didn't do is she also didn't separate the food program money that was coming into there, which you can only use for food. You can use for your cook, and you can use for mileage, anything that pertains to the food service part of it, not your whole location, not your regular staff that works a regular 8 to 6 or whatever time they work. Okay. So my point is, her not separating that almost cost her the entire business that she had for over 8 years already. Okay. So separate your money. A good way to separate it is, again, you can use that chart of account method. You can use different banks to have different accounts if you're working off of different contracts or you have multiple businesses. And then you can also have an all cash business where people pay you in cash that, I don't know if you've ever met people, but I've met people who don't even own a bank account because for whatever reason they can't even get one. Maybe they owe money to a bank and they won't play ball with them anymore or whatever. You meet people like that sometimes where they can't even open up an account because they still owe a balance somewhere. So, all that stuff is connected together. So if you left Wells Fargo and you left owing because they debited and took out too much money and now you owe all these $35 fees or $36 or $40, whatever they charge for late fees or whatever, and then plus on top of the money that they took out that you never had there anyway, and you just cannot catch up and pay that $5,000, you're just going to leave them over there and you're going to have to figure out a plan B, C, D, E, F, G, all the way to Z, okay? That is just the way it is. Now, you can pretend like you don't know that's the way it is, but pretending you don't know that's the way it really is, that really has nothing to do with anything. Separate your personal and professional life. Even separate your business and business. Separate your personal and personal. Now, what I mean when I say separate your business and business is exactly what I just said. If you have multiple streams of income coming in, have a system to be able to track it. For example, with my travel group, we know where we're going. We know what it costs. We know what we got to do. So we just dump money into one particular account, everybody that's a part of it as an ambassador. And then I keep track of, okay, you put this much money in there. We paid for flights. You have this much money left. That way they know what they have. So if the next trip costs $1,000, because again, that's not my money. It's not my money. It's not for me to declare. It's not for me to account for. It's not my money. It's being used as a savings so that they can throw their money over there and pay for their trip and forget it when it's time for us to go somewhere to serve. You know what I'm saying? So that's the way that's done. And I keep it all separate. I could have just said, we'll just put everything in my personal bank. No. When we started out for the first 3 months and we did that, I was like, nah, because that's not money. That's not my money to keep. So I can't declare this money. It's not mine. Another thing that'll keep you from getting in a little bit of trouble when it comes to personal and professional is that even though you have your professional life, maybe let's just say all day long or all night long, when you get around your family, throw it out the window. Forget that you even have a job, even if y'all work together. Family time is family time. Business time is business time. The two shall never meet. There will be times that you will have to talk about business, but do it during business hours so that it doesn't become. And let me tell you how I know this is true, what I'm saying. I have a really good friend who manages her husband. And one of the things that she's very annoyed about right now in life is that 24/7 her husband wants to talk about business. It's never honey baby sugar pie. It's did you do this? Did you call that? Did you submit this? Did you do that? Did you do even when it's time to go to bed? Hey, make sure tomorrow you do X, Y. It's never, let me cuddle with you or let's watch it. No, it's all about the business. And I've said to this individual several times, just be his wife and let somebody else manage him. But she's thinking like most people are thinking, I want to keep the money in house. I don't see nothing wrong with it. But if it's affecting your home life, then I see something wrong with it. That's just me looking from the outside, though. Their arrangement could be very, very happy. She could have just been annoyed and mentioned it. One of those things. I'm trying to tell you, sometimes people articulate how they really feel in different ways at different times. And they may be happy tomorrow and unhappy the next day and back happy that following day. So it just really depends. But I'm just going to tell you that I don't know how I've always known. That's why it has to be a inner spirit thing. I've always known to not allow myself to be around certain people. I've always known to not put myself in a position where I'm, going out with somebody by myself, or I'm going back to somebody's, hotel / office space for the night, or meeting somebody in their office that, I'm not with somebody else. And with all of the funding that's out here, because this was one of the things that was brought up in contention at the court, the national case that's going on right now, that was a thing that was being brought up in the court, was that there were some contract funds of over $650,000. There was some contract money, and it was given to her lover's law firm, and he was sharing that money with his other partners. He said a third, and a third. And it almost put me back in the memory of Kwame Kilpatrick from Detroit. And if you know that case very well, you know that he got in trouble for a lot. He got in trouble for nefarious dealings. He got in trouble for giving contracts to his buddies and his father and other people that they knew. He got in trouble for having an affair on his wife with another lady. He got in trouble for having a party with a couple of night dancers or entertainers, or whatever the proper word is, having them in the mayor's mansion, and they had a party, and supposedly, of course, his wife came in and beat up some people that were there with him. He got in trouble for just really finagling. I like that word too. He got in trouble for really just finagling the funds of the city. Those were not his funds to finagle. So he got in trouble for that as well. So my point is, these are not new stories. These are just rewritten stories, and people see these kind of stories and they think they can get slicker and better about it. And it's like, that's fine. Get slicker and better about it, but you better know what you're doing. For example, in the national case that's going on right now, they asked her, we see that some trips that you guys went to Belize and Napa Valley and all these places, we see they were paid with a credit card. And he said, yeah, I paid for everything, but she paid me back in cash. And then so she says, well, yeah, I keep about $15,000 in the house. Why would you tell the world? You're on a world stage. Why would you tell them you have $15,000 in your house? Don't you think that puts a bullet in your front door for them to get in, to want to get the cash? You're not there. You're district attorney. You're busy. Somebody's going to want to break in the house. If you got maids, they checking you out. They got family that, How many times have you heard the story of the maid that comes in and out of the house, but then the little nephew says, hey, let's set them up and rob them. She says, well, I'm going to go. I'll be there between this time and that time. You come in, you rob them. I'll leave, and then you got robbed some kind of way, but I'll leave the back door open. Come on. Y'all don't watch TV enough. TV, sometimes it gives you a glimpse of reality. So they asked her, if you paid for everything in cash, where'd you get this cash from? She said, well, my father always taught me to keep money in the house, so I always have about $15,000. See, that wasn't the answer that they were looking for. They asked her, where did she get the cash from? So her answer should have been, well, whenever I get money from my account, I pay myself a little something on the side just for an emergency. Her answer should have been, well, sometimes I'll do something and somebody, gives me a little donation for something. Let's just say I read an article for them to, do the, what she should have said is giving them a source of where the cash came from. Since in their mind, they think cash is not traced. So if it were me and I were the judge, I would say, okay, well, let's go to your house and we're going to stand outside the door, me and the security people, or we'll stand in the living room, wherever you want us to stand, and we want you to just bring us $10,000 worth of cash. Or let's just be civil, bring us $5,000 worth of cash. And I would take pictures of all that money, and I would give it back to her. And then I would trace all the serial numbers to that money, and I would say, you're not just keeping cash, but this is new money that you have here. So then it begs the question, where does the cash come from? Are you also being given kickbacks from him? So, for example, if your man, your lover, your boo, is getting a $650,000 contract, he's splitting a third, and a third with his, because he had two other partners, so that's three of them getting a third, a third. And then if I help you get this $650 contract, I want you to give me a kickback. So if your salary every month from that contract is $15,000, I need you to give me $2,500 of that every month, because I'm saving up a good little nest egg over here where I can go and buy me a Bentley, whatever. See, that's what it's looking like right now, is that I scratch your back, you scratch mine. I'm going to get you this big time contract, but then I want you to, let me tell you something. I've had enough contracts to know you don't play that game. I've never played that game. I've never been around people who have played that game. I have stopped working alongside people who have suggested to play that game. So the question the judge asked her is, where does all this cash come from? Because there has to be a source. Did you take it out of the bank? If so, there should be a receipt for withdrawal. Were you given the money for a service you performed? You braiding hair? What you doing in the back? Was it given to you by a sugar daddy? If so, now you got to reveal the sugar daddy, which would have probably been her best bet to create a sugar daddy, and he gave her a gift. Okay? Because what it's looking like right now is that you got your lover, your boo, your honey, a contract, and he gave you a kickback off of it because it was such a significant contract. That's what it's looking like. And I'm willing to bet that's what was going on. So then now today they reveal that the Napa Valley has, the Napa Valley place that they went to in California has conjured up receipts showing where she paid everything in cash. You can't tell us where the cash came from. You half of the time say you don't remember, you don't recall. That's not true. You guys are, everything y'all are saying are lies on me. But all of a sudden, the Napa Valley people in California, they have conjured up receipts. No, what they actually probably allegedly did is they looked at the dates of when she was there. They pulled all the receipts from whoever did pay in cash. I would have been one of those people who was there, because I'm a cash person. I like to pay for everything because my brain likes to just forget it. I don't like balancing checkbooks and bank accounts and all that. So I prefer to just pay for everything, okay, and be done with it. And I don't have to try to figure out when is it going to be, debited from my account or credited or however it goes. So that's probably what has happened, is that she made a phone call. Somebody got some cash slid up under the table. And they went back and looked at the dates that she told them they were in town. And they just pulled up whatever receipts that they could pull up for whoever paid cash. Because again, it don't matter what I had on that receipt. Even if it says I had, 6 wine bottles and some bread. That don't even matter. Because the contents are not in my stomach anymore, so it don't matter. But I'm telling you that the case looks dumb. It looks really crazy. She looks very unprofessional. She seems very unprofessional. She was jittery. She was shaky. She was defensive. And that's what turned me off. I would have loved it if she would have went in there with her head held up high. If she would have been calm and confident. If she would have just answered the questions, and when they asked her certain things that she wanted to elaborate on, I wish she would have just gotten permission from the judge to elaborate on it, like her father did. He would ask when he wanted to elaborate on something, he would ask for permission. I wish, as a district attorney and lawyer, I wish she would have used the same couth that her father used. And you know what's the saddest thing about that whole case? Is now all your friends know you're a liar about this man, your boo. Now your father knows you're a liar about this man. Now everybody who worked in and around you know what y'all was doing this whole time with the money, with the affair, the fact that he was a married man. The fact that you lied not even 30 days ago and said that you were not in a personal relationship with this man is disgusting to me. The fact that you pimped out your church to get in front of them and say that this is all about race. And because you're a black woman in the position that you have, they coming up again. I'm disgusted, y'all. My blood pressure was so high today that I literally just got in the bed and was like, we're not watching this anymore. We're just waiting till the verdict next week because I just can't handle no more. It brought up too many things. And like I told my mom today, I said, I think it's me. I think I'm the one that's crazy. I think because I don't do pillow talk, and I think it's because I don't share personal things with people. I think it's because I'm not giving you any ammunition to use against me later. I think it's me. So I'm the one, actually, I'll confess right now, I'm thrown off. I'm weird. I'm strange. I'm disconnected. You dang right I'm disconnected. I'm disconnected from the shenanigans and from you weaponizing anything about me, on me, in the future. You're right. I'm crazy. That's my show for today. And I hope that you've learned something about how to separate your business and professional life from your personal life, but then also your personal from personal and your business from business. Take it from someone who's been in business for 20 plus years. Take it from someone who's gotten contracts where some people had to sleep with people to get them and never did. Take it from someone who has separated her business acumen from her personal acumen so that the two shall never meet. Take it from someone who is watching what's happening in the world and around them and taking note and giving that information. You take it from someone who only looked at this court case because the face was on my TV and I say, who is that? What is this about? Why is everybody on YouTube talking about this lady? Who is she? What's going on? And it was my curiosity and nosiness, of course, but my curiosity that made me press play. And from the moment I heard her talk nasty and disrespectful in that courtroom, and here's the funny caveat about it all, is if she was sitting there drilling somebody as an attorney, she would try to probably disqualify them for being nasty to her. Isn't that funny? I guarantee you that's the way it would work. But you think you can come in here and you can talk crazy to people and you can try to shut them down, and the fact that people are egging you on and calling you a hero for that, all that lets me know is that I am definitely in an alternate universe right now in life. I am absolutely not in the same universal space that I have normally been in. Just simply from the shenanigans, okay? That's my show for today. I hope that you enjoyed what I had to say, but check out the court case for yourself. I think that it's going to be going on for the rest of the week. And tell me if I'm crazy or not. Put down in the comments what you think about the case and what your instincts are telling you. I want to see what you have to say. That's my show for today. Bye.